Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to Visordown. My name is Toad, and today we are coming to you live from stunning Wales, where we are here to check out BMW's new R1300 GS. We're also here to have a little look around their recently revamped and expanded off-road skills centre here in the Brecon Beacons. So I've got a bit of bike swapping to do. So there's F900 GSs and there is the big R1300 GS as well for us to have a little play on. But I'm predominantly going to be focusing on this bike, but just a little bit of housework on this one. First and foremost, it has been through probably its biggest and most far-reaching update, well, for quite a long time. So we've got a new engine, updated electronics. It's basically a totally new GS, and really the themes that I'm picking up from it is that it's smaller, it's slightly more accessible, it's a little bit lighter than the old GS was, and possibly a little bit more off-road focused as well. We haven't really got to the bottom of that yet because we've done one very quick little photo stop off-road, and then the rest of it's been riding up these lovely mountain roads here in Wales. So we're going to be hopping back on the bike very, very soon, and then what I'm going to do is catch up with you a little bit later on back at the Off-Road Skills Centre, and I'll tell you everything that you need to know about the new R1300 GS.
Summing up the new GS, you could effectively say everything is new, as BMW threw the kitchen sink at the 2024 bike to truly cement the machine at the top of the large capacity adventure bike class. To start with, the new bike gains a 1300cc shift-cam engine, boasting a claimed 143 brake horsepower and 109 pound-foot of torque. Bolted to the engine is a new Paralever Evo front-end design that's linked to a new Evo ASA semi-active suspension system, and as a first on a GS, it gains adaptive vehicle height control. This drops the suspension of the GS when the bike comes to a halt, making life much easier for shorter riders. The new styling of the bike hides a new frame and subframe, which is a key reason the new GS looks so much more compact than before. Thanks to these gains, the new R1300 is also the lightest of the modern era, with BMW claiming the new machine is 12 kilograms less than the outgoing R1250 GS. As you'd expect from a GS, the standard bike was quickly followed up by the big tank GS Adventure model, with that machine boasting a 30-litre fuel tank, extensively revised styling and suspension that is 20mm higher than on the stock bike.
So there we have it, folks. We are back here at BMW's off-road skills facility in Wales, and we, as you can see by the state of the bikes, have had an absolute blast on them today. We've been wading these things through water up to about there. We've been riding up slippery, rocky trails and tracks, and we've been going through some pretty heavy ruts and mud and doing some power slides and just generally having a bit of a ball on the new R1300 GS. A few takeaways that these are the feelings that I've got comparing this bike to the previous generation R1250 GS. This is a much less intimidating proposition, especially for me, for somebody my size. I mean, it's still over sort of 230 kilograms, so it's still a big, heavy adventure bike, but it is a lot less of a domineering proposition compared to the previous generation bike, and that is partly the fact that they have slimmed down the weight, they've reduced the weight quite considerably, but also because the overall package of it is now a lot smaller than it used to be, so it hasn't got that visual impact of this absolutely huge great silhouette that you're going to have to go off and navigate some lanes on when you come over to a facility such as this. It's still got all of that great stuff that the GS was always so good at. It's still got really, really good high-spec electronics, which will sort you out if your ability level isn't quite there. And if you go up into the Enduro Pro mode, which is where I spent most of my day, it does leave some of those off-road electronics in there, but still lets you slide the bike around and skid the back wheel on the brakes if you need to, but there's just that little bit of a safety net in there should you want it. And of course you can still turn all of that stuff off if you're an absolute pro level rider, which I do not profess to be. In terms of the handling of the bike, I'd just say that's probably the thing that hasn't altered the most. The handling of it is still very much as it was before. It's very easygoing, independent. It's got quite a nice benign handling profile, thanks to the fact that you've got the engine settled so down low in the frame that just gives it a really nice low centre of gravity when you're riding it off-road and when you're riding it on-road. The way that I've been thinking about the bike really for most of the day today is that this now feels a lot more like the two different varieties of Africa Twin that you've got. You've got the Adventure Sports, which is much bigger bigger, much taller, much heavier, and a much more intimidating bike for somebody who's my size to take off-road, whereas the lighter standard CRF 1100L is a much less intimidating bike and a much easier bike for somebody like me to get along with. That wasn't how I felt about the previous GSs. The GS and the GS Adventure were both quite intimidating to me as a smaller rider, but this one has opened the door for me to actually enjoy taking it off-road a lot more than the previous generation. It is still an expensive proposition. I mean, BMW will say that this is a shade under £16,000, and it is a shade under £16,000, which puts it within the reach of all the competition. But then once you've added the bits and the bobs that you want, that price is going to go up quite steeply. Is that going to stop people from walking into BMW dealerships and buying it? Absolutely not, because these things have walked off the shelves in Beamer dealerships across the world for absolutely donkey shonks, and I don't think this bike is going to stop that. So there we have it. That has been the R1300 GS. I've had a cracker of a day over here at the Off-Road Skills Facility in Wales. Big thanks to those for putting up with us wobbling about on all of their bikes. And if you've liked that video, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with all of Visordown's latest content. And for all the latest news, reviews and motorcycle features, get yourself over to Visordown.com.